Shall we start?
Hostel Hudugaru Bekagiddare.
I wanted to do an original motion picture. First, we were writing a different story, a rom-com. Vendra is my all-time favorite.
From the beginning, we knew we would produce this.
Shooting for the edit was a decision we took while shooting itself.
The response that we got over there was thunderous.
So I hope the tea is good here.
Hey, hi Vivek, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, the tea is better than Hostel.
Hi, great Nithin. So if you're wondering why we are talking about tea, you must watch this Kannada film called Hostel Hudugaru Bekagiddare. This film is running to packed crowd in Karnataka, and this is a campus drama filled with lots of humor, chaotic drama and excellent music. So yeah, how are you feeling about the film success, Nithin?
Good, but do you want me to offer you something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So Nithin, the daily pain of drinking watery tea, right? You show that in the movie.
Yeah.
Were you a rebel? Did you protest for anything?
We not as much as how much we show in the song.
Right.
But I stayed in hostel.
Correct.
Our hostel tea was better back then. But a lot of hostels that we visit, see any food that has been given every day,
Yeah.
the palette is the same palette.
Yeah.
I think we will tend to protest
Right.
because we need something better. Probably, even if they give you like gourmet food every day in hostels,
Yeah.
we will protest because it's birthright of a hostelite to protest against everything and everything.
Yeah. So there is a protest song in Hostel Hudugaru Bekagiddare which happens because of the watery tea. And talking about tea, there's a quote that says that life is a tea. It's all about how you make it. This is your debut film, and why did you decide to make it in this way? Like, there's no structure, there's no protagonist. This is as unconventional as it can get. So, why did you decide it that way?
One is I've always believed that cinema as an art medium or any art medium, be it the painting, be it the sculpting, anything should always push boundaries.
Right.
I wanted to do an original motion picture.
Right.
That original had to be highlighted. You can't. So if somebody sees this film and says that okay, it looks something like that, it shouldn't look like that.
Yeah.
Every film should have its own identity, its own unique attribute. So I had a story within me that I wanted to tell to people, and I knew where the setup should be. So I knew how it should be treated, and I look at it as a whole unit. It made sense to me, so we went in.
Right. Now that you mentioned that you wanted to do an original movie, let me tell you, viewers, that this has been shot in a cinema verite style. The dialogues look very natural, and the camera is completely handheld. So that reminds me of a quote, Nithin. The movie starts off with Franz Kafka's quote, like, it's because of your stupidity that you start believing in yourself, right?
Yeah.
The quote says that you have to, embrace your stupidity or the crazy attitude, right? While making this film, which looks very risky, were there any apprehensions? I'll tell you why. Because your journey started with Lucia in 2013, and we are in 2023. Very poetic that we have completed 10 years of that landmark film. And back then, if somebody would have heard that you're making a crowd-funded film to Pawan Kumar, people would have felt it's a stupid idea or a crazy idea. Same thing with your film as well, like completely unconventional. So, what were your worries while making this film?
Initially, when we started this, we thought we'll do it in a very small budget, so we'll minimize the risks. But as it went on, I realized that this can't be a small budget film. This demands more, demands a lot of artists, demands particular set of celebrities that we might need. So the risk just went up and up. So that is when we realized that we have to market it so well that people, a new film's main problem is it doesn't reach to the potential audience. I've seen so many films that they're so good, but they've not been marketed well, or they actually don't reach out to audience.
Right.
So our team was very clear that in 2 years, whenever we're going to release, we'll keep the audience engaged once in a month.
Okay.
So by then, at least a bit of risk will be mitigated. And secondly, we knew that there's a risk, but it was calculated risk.
Yeah.
So, but the whole this movie becoming a hit is so surreal was because we thought it might go over the head for a lot of people.
Yeah,
It might
yeah.
not appeal to a larger audience. So we hadn't even you know rented a lot of single screen theaters first.
Okay.
But then Z Studios, they believed in us. They said this
Okay.
will work in single screen theaters. And now if I see, uh, all single screen theater guys are calling us and congratulating us, saying that
Right.
this movie has revived the theaters which has been going no shows from
Yeah.
last so many weeks or months.
Exactly. So Nitin, it feels quite weird that your movie is very fast paced
Yeah.
and chaotic, and we are sitting leisurely and talking about it. I think we should just get going and talk as we walk.
Sure, we'll take
Shall
a
we
walk
do
and
that?
then
Yeah,
we can,
yeah.
yeah.
Nitin, when you look at it from the perspective of a first-time filmmaker,
Yeah.
I want to know the writing process of this movie,
Okay.
because there's a fantasy element, and then there's reality, and then of course there's a movie within a movie aspect as well.
Yeah.
It's meta
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
So, can you explain how which was the most difficult aspect to crack for you in writing, and how did the writing process happen?
I had a story earlier, as in first we were writing a different story, a rom-com.
Right.
It was
Oh,
actually
great.
named Gulmohar.
Okay.
So that's how Gulmohar
That's why the
Films,
production name
yeah, it
is
came.
Gulmohan. Yeah.
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 So, but we stopped that because that budget was too huge.
Right.
So then we thought we'll do a smaller budget film first.
Okay.
There's another story that we really liked. We just had a one-liner. We
Okay.
didn't extend it. So we thought, why don't we do that first?
Yeah.
But then what happened? The budget of Gulmohar
Ah.
matched this of Hostel Hudugaru.
Okay.
So the writing process per se, it was a very organic process.
Ah.
So the structure, the skeleton was there. What
Okay.
happens inside a hostel will have a fantasy element, then we'll have a meta,
Yeah.
then we'll shoot it in cinematography style. We realized if there is anything that we do, it should look like something that we wanted to watch it in theaters.
Yeah.
So that is how the writing process started. We took around 6 weeks. I took around 6 weeks to write the complete script.
Okay.
Once we started rehearsals, we have rehearsed it a lot because there's 10 to 12 actors every time, and we need to
Exactly.
block everybody and
Yeah.
what dialogues he says.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of overlaps in the
Correct.
dialogues. So we
Yeah.
didn't want to cut it off. We wanted it to be the same way and it should look natural. So we have improvised a lot of dialogues. The screenplay was locked, but we improvised a lot of dialogues
Yeah.
during the shoot.
Yeah.
And we hadn't written the climax of the film.
Okay.
We had a few options, but we thought we will watch the complete film. And somehow I don't know, looking at it now in retrospect, I feel either we were stupid or crazy because we thought the film can write its own ending.
Okay.
We'll just wait, we'll watch it, and then look what ending should be given.
So the climax was written after everything was ready.
Yes,
Okay.
everything was ready. Ready as in after everything was shot.
Short. Yeah.
So there are a lot of options to go. Like there were roads we can easily travel, easily
Okay.
digestible. But we thought this is the perfect
Yeah.
ending. And to say, usually in a South film, I think it happens even in a Hindi film.
Yeah.
They do this. You break pumpkin
Yeah.
once you
Finish
finish
the
film.
movie.
We
Yeah.
hadn't.
It's a tradition.
We didn't do
Yeah.
that until
Okay.
the previous day of the release.
Oh. Okay.
Once we put the cutout,
Yeah.
and that is when we said we're not going to shoot anything more. Now we can do it without a problem. Jokes used in the movie, we want to make sure that it should connect to the 90s kids
Yeah.
at any cost.
Yeah.
So if it crosses the TG of 18 to 35, our target was 18 to 35
Yeah.
audience,
Yeah.
both male and female.
Correct.
But if it crosses, it will only be a bonus.
Correct. Now that you mentioned 90s kids,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The movie is filled with Kannada pop culture references. So
yeah.
I want to know, like, how has Kannada cinema influenced you over the years? Like, what is your association? Who are the actors and the directors who kind of inspired you, right from, say, your school days?
Yeah. So my mother is a major film buff.
Oh, okay.
She can
Nice.
name any Dr. Rajkumar's movies
Okay.
with the release dates.
Oh,
So that has been a crazy influence for me.
Okay.
My mother has been a crazy influence for me.
right.
And I belong to the generation which is, as soon as you wake up, I used to watch cartoons, but not as much as I used to watch YouTube. If you ask me about who's influenced me the most, it's very difficult to name a single man or a movie. So I've loved Pani Ramchandra's work.
Yeah.
So, and then Putana Kanga's work. Then Upendra is my all-time favorite. Like the way he could break structures,
Right.
in a movie. Like
Why is there an Upendra reference in every college drama? Do you think even Kirik Party
so,
had that?
uh, because he's a cult, he has a cult following,
Yeah.
and in hostels you're liberated. Like
Okay.
you're very independent. I mean,
Huh.
you don't care about anything,
Yeah.
and that is what Upendra showed.
Yes.
Like. So any movie that of Upendra you watch, that if you watch particular movie Upendra,
Huh.
the way he's broken barriers in screenplay,
Yeah.
or the way he's made the film,
Yeah.
and the fashion sense that he
Yeah.
had, all of it were. I don't think when I watched the movie then I would have easily understood everything. If you watch it again,
Mm.
you now know, like, oh my god, there's so much detailing. One other major influence for me would be who is Mr. Shankana.
Okay.
So the way he used to visualize
Huh.
back then. So we still talk about, even now till date, we talk about how much risk are you by
Yeah.
making a movie.
Yeah.
Imagine how he used to make movies
Correct.
back then with a smaller market,
Yeah.
with no OTT.
Yeah.
All of that, he used to take so much risk.
Exactly.
If us, these legends could have taken risks
Yeah.
with so much name they had, I think anybody can take
Yeah.
that risk.
Yeah.
So, welcome to our office.
Thank you so much, Nithin. Yeah. It'll be a
Hi
pleasure.
guys,
This
how are
movie is
you?
a DOP.
Hi, hi,
Hi.
Arvind. Hi.
Hi.
So yeah, he is Arvind Kashyap, the cinematographer of this movie. He's worked in Kantara, 777 Charlie, a busy man. And the fact is that you will not see much in the film, maybe for a scene or so. So yeah, Arvind, congratulations on Hostel Hudugaru Bekagiddare.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm sorry I'm late. I
Right.
just got here from Chennai.
Okay.
So I went there to update a patch, make changes in the audio.
Right. Right.
Past 1 week, we have been watching this movie in almost every screen in Bangalore.
Right.
We realized how different theaters, sound different,
Yeah.
and we did something to make all theaters sound even better.
Right.
So in the coming weeks, the theatrical experience is going to be more enhanced.
Right.
So for all of you who have seen, watch once more because the new version of audio is updated.
Right, fantastic. So, I mean, very curious. The first poster of the movie is a memory card. Why is that so? And as a cinematographer, tell us how much space was used.
Space wise, we use a lot.
Okay.
There are a lot of hard disks coming and going.
Yeah.
Memory card simply because it resonates with the concept of the movie,
Yeah.
where it's a film which is shot inside the movie,
Right.
and that
Also, the structure of the memory card, you see, it's it resemblance of Hostel.
Correct.
So, like how we have used the naked set
Yeah. Yeah.
in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
so visually also if you see the poster, it has the entire hostel. If you see the poster again,
Yeah.
it has the entire theme of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And without that memory card, this movie wouldn't have been there.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
that's where it all started.
It's a very special poster for us because Apu sir had
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
And I want to know when was it decided that even though it's from the POV of the cinematographer, that you'll also be part of the film, like you're a character, though you're also like doing the handheld cinematography, people are breaking the fourth wall, but you're also a character in the movie. When was that decided?
from the beginning,
Right.
it was decided that I'd be a character. Nikki
Okay.
was written at the first stage itself,
Okay.
but I thought it would mostly be behind the camera, me
Right.
interacting with them in dialogues or communicating with them.
Yeah.
When and how I would appear in front of the camera was something which happened organically.
Okay.
Suddenly, we would decide that this scene, Nikki should be inside.
Right.
So on-screen presence was never decided,
Okay.
but me being part of the narrative was always decided.
Right. Right. So you shot Hero with Rishabh Shetty, and this was during the COVID lockdown time. So shot with constraints. That's basically because of the situation and atmosphere. But this also is a bit of a you have to follow a pattern, right? Like so. In a way, it's a constraint of another format because there is a character which says that at least take one shot which is very cinematic and beautiful. Was there an urge to take at least one shot which is quite clean and nice?
No, luckily I got to shoot in both lockdowns.
Right.
First lockdown I shot Hero, second lockdown we shot this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the way the film is cinematic.
Yeah.
In the
Okay.
sense, cinematic just doesn't mean beautiful
Yeah,
frames.
clean or something.
Clean also.
Yeah.
Anything which enhances the narration and the screenplay is cinematic.
Right.
So I never felt the urge to shoot something beautiful
Right.
because the story was so raw and exciting.
Yeah.
And the camera movement added a lot of dynamics as well.
Okay. Can you talk about the challenges of shooting this movie? Like, because it's again cinema verite, spontaneous dialogues, lot of movement of cameras. What are the challenges?
The biggest challenge was handling the crowd.
Right.
There are a lot of scenes in which there are more than 100 people saying 20, 40 dialogues.
Yeah. Yeah.
So first of all, we all had to know who's going to be telling what,
Yeah.
the sequence of dialogues,
Yeah.
and we also had to know the placement
Yeah.
because it's a single camera and we don't have cuts.
Correct.
We had to know who's going to stand where's the neck dialogue coming from.
Yeah.
So every day before shoot, we would do a lot of rehearsals,
Right.
and I would have to memorize the entire scene and the dialogues, and I had to know with clarity who's going to be saying what.
Have you ever? Has it happened to you in any other films?
Not to this
No.
extent.
Okay.
So every scene, and on top of all this, we also had to have a margin for improvisation.
Right. Right.
It's not like just because we're doing with this many constraints, we just can't go and shoot whatever we have
Yeah.
planned.
Yeah.
While shooting, there were a lot of improvisations,
Yeah.
and every single improvisation would start the cycle all over again.
If you can talk a bit more about, like, say, was there an urge to kind of pitch the movie to a producer, and also when the filming is happening, what are the calculations that goes on as a producer? Because primarily your role is of a cinematographer, right? But here you are adapting to a fresh role.
So we never thought about pitching it to anyone because from the beginning we knew we would produce this. Because first of all, we were not sure if somebody would understand and accept this
Yeah.
to put money into this, and we didn't know how to convince someone because we haven't tried convincing anyone.
All right.
And initially, this was a very small budget project,
Yeah.
so which was something which was affordable by us.
Yeah.
We thought we could all put in our savings and start off. But like you said, as we started shooting, we realized the scale of this movie is something which we didn't imagine would be.
Right.
The movie, it takes its own path. So throughout the journey, the budget kept increasing. Because we were the creative people as well, we knew that we shouldn't compromise on the quality of the film.
Yeah.
So there were times when the budget was much beyond what we could afford. But luckily, because there were four of us and we truly believed in the project, we had a lot of help in terms of finances, and even people from within the team,
All right.
who would get money from somewhere,
Yeah.
and that's how we finished it.
Nithin, your office is as good as a movie set. So I have to talk about the world building of Hostel Hudugaru Bekagiddare. There is the storyboard here, but I want you to talk about the challenges of creating this hostel. Because let me tell you, for those who have not been in a hostel, if you watch it, you might feel closer to the stories that you have heard about hostel life. So, but from you, I want to know the challenges, because there are hostel rooms, then you have to create a sports room, there are a lot of graffiti, and of course there was a mini bakery of sorts that you showed in the movie. So what are the challenges that went into creating this hostel?
So there are two parts of film, like you mentioned earlier. So the first part, we needed a very light campus, and we did a lot of experimentation with the sets. Like you see the naked set where you can see all the rooms together without a facade. That and the top angle shots. We built sets for that.
Okay.
And the other one we shot it in a real hostel.
Okay.
A real hostel. So the idea was, if we entered the hostel, it should look like one, and if you enter to the elite hostel, it should also look like one. It should look classy, and the posters that we have pasted there than the posters that we have pasted here, there's so much difference, and the homages that we pay there to our favorite people, and from there to here, if you see, we paid to Om, A, Upendra, and all of this, and there we have paid to a lot of English movies. So that was we needed a clear distinction.
Arvind, there's a very clear distinction in how the movie looks in the beginning. That is the fantasy portion of the film, and then the reality that you cut back after, say, 15 minutes or so. So, and this initial portion has been praised a lot by filmmakers, fans, and all. Can you talk about what went into the making of that?
Funnily, the first 15 minutes of the film, we shot it across many schedules because every time we started off that particular schedule, we had so many issues.
Okay.
If once I fell sick,
okay,
another time it was raining, and once more Apu sir's didn't happen. So I didn't shoot majority of the first 15 minutes. Abhimanyu Sadanand, who's another great DOP, shot majority of the first 15 minutes.
Okay.
I just shot the quadrangle portions and in between small pieces. But from the beginning, when we started this movie, we had a clear distinction of how the two portions had to look. The first 15 minutes had to look very cinematic for the rest of the film, to balance it out. And the yellow tone, it's carried in both Handycam and the first 15 minutes. That again was a conscious decision. That was the tone we were looking for. We in fact had the walls painted yellow in the hostel, the real hostel. We had the aging done, and most of our properties and tones were towards yellow.
Okay.
Shastri, talking about Shastri, Sunil Shastri was our production designer. He did an amazing job dressing up and getting the sets ready. It would be a surprise for us every day to come to the set and see what is done. Again, that's the kind of movies I've watched, and together we have liked. Let's say something Fincherish. It's Fincherish yellow, leans towards green yellow tint.
This is the editing room, and I see a very funny caption on the door which says that please don't enter without permission, and they're also asking people to maintain silence. So, firstly, why did this come on the door?
Not sure who wrote it. I mean, that's never been followed.
Okay.
So this is the editing room, party room.
Okay. Yeah.
Plays multiple roles.
Right. Right. And coming to the movie, there are a lot of fast cuts, right? So can you, how much of the film was made on the editing table?
So, like I told you earlier, we have shot this movie, the Handycam part.
Okay.
We've taken a single shot of the entire sequence and also cut shot, because we knew that in edit, if it becomes a lag, we have to chop it properly. So our main editor Suresh, he's done a great job in cutting it out, and he knew there's some judgment that you have to give to the editor. You have to give, because we would like to want everything to be in the movie, like whatever shot. But the editor will know exactly, because he's a new audience and he's a raw audience. He will choose and trim down whatever is needed and what is not needed. One thing about the edit here is you cannot, so whatever, like how is this camera shooting, if there's something happening on the other room, the audience won't know. Only if there is a video call or something like that. So he made sure that if you're staying in the same room for a long time, he'll chop into something else that can be a source.
Correct.
Source for the entire film. So that way he's made it very sharp, crisp, and all the lags wherever you think it might, audience might feel like it's been dragged, he's chopped it well.
Right.
So we realized that we had to make the cut look seamless in between the scene. For example, if there's a wide shot which is panning, the close-up had to match cut in the same pan.
Right.
So that while you stitch it together, you don't realize it's a cut. So our editor has done a great job in making a lot of seamless cuts. So this editing, shooting for the edit was a decision we took while shooting itself. We realized we have to take multiple options, but the cuts have to be seamless. Because it's shot by a single person, it doesn't make sense for the camera to be here and the opposite cut from somewhere there.
Right.
So we had to give a logical explanation if the cut was there. So, in a pan or a swift movement. So, and that's how we took a call.
So I know we are talking about a campus drama, and this feels like I'm back in school. So one of your team member told me that these are extra dialogues. That reminds me of one of the interviews that you gave, and you said the dubbing took around almost 100 days.
Yes, 75 days.
75 days, yeah. So can you talk about, how the dialogue writing happened and how difficult or challenging was it during the dubbing sessions?
So one thing is, like you watch in the movie, there are a lot of overlapping dialogues. I mean, it's usually if one character speaks, the other character speaks up. He responds. But here, we wanted to make it look as authentic as possible. Like when there's a group of people talking about a topic or walking around, they usually overlap each other. Like one guy can dominate and one guy can give a punch, and it just keeps on going. It's not like you give, it's like a parliament, chaos. That is how it usually is. In hostels, that is how it is. So whatever we've shot, there were a lot of dialogues we thought we can add in post as well. So if we thought a dialogue is not funny, I mean, we had this one advantage where the camera is not very steady on one guy, so we keep on panning. That we thought we can add a lot of dialogues there. We had done it there, but in dubbing, we thought there's a huge scope. So we've dubbed for around 72 days.
Right.
And the entire mastering of the sound, it also took around like three months.
Okay.
So all this that you see right now here is the extra dialogues that we have. This is not the dubbing script.
Got
This
it.
is the extra dialogues that
Right.
we took around like a month and a half to write all this.
Okay. Okay.
Made sure that everything there is a punch and it connects to the story.
Yeah.
So a film doesn't end only in shoot. I've always believed that what an audience sees in the end is the film. So you can keep changing, you can keep adding. Even a single dialogue can change. A lot of dialogues over here have been nicely appreciated in the theaters, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it has also changed the course of this film. So I think sound has played an important part in our
Yeah.
film. And if you watch it in the theaters, you get that feeling of surround sound.
Right.
So Mr. Raja Krishnan, the sound
Oh.
designer of our film, he's done movies like Premam,
Right.
Kantara, all of that. So he was very particular that not only music should be surround,
Right.
even the audio should be surround.
Correct.
So if you sit in a theater and probably in a center seat, you can hear all sounds like
Right.
going around. And this became a very big complication for our music director because
Okay.
he didn't have any scope to.
Yeah, there was no room for,
There's no room
yeah.
at all. But Ajju sir, being a magician, he made sure that he'll do something great about it, and he used EDMs
Okay.
very particularly about this film so that it doesn't get distracted, but it's not left out.
I did catch Hostel Hudugaru Bekagiddare on Friday morning, and right now we are going again not to watch the film but to see the crowd and talk to the theater owner about the movie's response. So, Nithin, one thing that I remember is that post the release, we are seeing the cinema team visit theaters,
Yes.
and then there's of course the famous warden character who's been appreciated a lot. People are taking selfies with him. Uh, I want to know your experience of watching the film for the first time with the crowd, like somebody who always dreamt of making a film. Now that it's a reality, what was your feeling on the first day?
So the first time that we watched it with the crowd was in Nartaki Theatre. It's a single screen theatre in Gandhinagar.
Okay.
Uh, so like I always mentioned that we always thought this it might not appeal to the mass audience. It might not appeal, but the response that we got over there was thunderous. I mean, like everybody was shouting, and the end almost just pre-climax, and almost the climax when the scene happens and everybody's clapping for the warden, the whistling, that made me very emotional that day. Like till now, we've just been watching the movie in a screen and a small screen, and when you watch it on a big screen with so much sound and people howling, whistling,
Right. Yeah.
that sound is music to my ears.
Right. Great.
And that so Manjunath is he's done plays with us, but
Yeah.
this was his first
The
big screen
warden's
debut.
character. Yeah.
Warden's character, his
Okay.
first big screen debut, and he's done a crazy job. I mean, very believable, and you hate him and love him at the same time.
Yeah. So, Arvind, in 2022, we saw big films in Kannada like KGF Chapter 2, 777 Charlie, Kantara, and Vikrant Rona for that matter. So, you were part of two films, that is 777 Charlie and Kantara. They were, they were well mounted big films. Compared to that, comparatively, Hostel Hudugaru Bekagiddare is a medium scale film. So, and then you had to play multiple roles as well. So, can you tell the difference between shooting, like say, a Charlie or a Kantara and shooting Hostel Hudugaru Bekagiddare?
First of all, I consider myself very lucky because I've gotten to shoot these three great films. And one similarity which I find between these three films is the innovation in them, be it in either screenplay or the way it is shot technically. Each film is technically totally different, the way it was shot and the process as well. But one thing which I find very similar is breaking new barriers in storytelling.
Right.
But compared to the other two films, which were in my safe zone where I knew what I could do, and which I had practiced before, and I knew where my expertise were there. Hostel Hudugaru was completely new for me in terms of technically achieving it. Be it Kantara or Charlie, it was something which I have been doing from a long time, and it was in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But in this movie, I had to come out of that comfort zone.
ಸರ್ ಏನ್ ಅನ್ಸ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಜನ ಬರ್ತಿರೋದು ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ?
ನಮಗೆ ಒಂಥರ ಮರುಭೂಮಿಲಿ ಓಯಸಿಸ್ ಸಿಕ್ತಂಗೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವಲ್ಲೇ ಒಂದು 5-6 ತಿಂಗಳಿಂದ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ಗಳು ನೋ ಶೋಸು ಬರೀ 10 ಜನ 15 ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಓಡಿಸಿ ಕೈಯಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹುಡುಗರುಗಳ ಸ್ಯಾಲ್ರಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಬಿಲ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಟ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಈ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ಬಂದಮೇಲೆ ನಮಗೊಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಚೇತರಿಕೆ ಕಂಡಿದೆ. ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ವೀಕೆಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಅದ್ಭುತ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಮಳೆ ಡೈಲಿ ಈವ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಬರ್ತಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಈಗ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಈವ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಡ್ರಾಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮಳೆ ಡೈಲಿ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಳೆ ಇದೆ ಈ ಕಡೆ. ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ನೋಡಿದ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬ ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಕರು ಹೇಳೋದಿಷ್ಟೇ ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ನಗದಿಗೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೂ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸು ನಾನು ನೋಡೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಥಿಯೇಟ್ರ್ ಓಪನ್ ಅಂತ. ಬರೀ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಶೋ ಎಲ್ಲ. ನಿಮ್ದಂತೂ ಹೊಸ ಪ್ರಯೋಗ. ನಾನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಅರ್ಧ ಗಂಟೆ ನೋಡಿದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಯಾವ ಪಿಕ್ಚರಪ್ಪ ಇದೇನು ಹಿಂಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಿದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಕರು ಖುಷಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ನನಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯಿತು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಸುಮಾರು ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್, ಇದು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತಿರೋಂಥ ಪಿಕ್ಚರು ಅಂತ ಭಾಳ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇನೇ ಇದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಯಿತು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಶೋನಲ್ಲೇ ಇದು ಹೆವಿ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ಅಂತ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆನೇ ನಮಗೆ ಕನ್ಫರ್ಮ್ ಆಗೋಯ್ತು.
So Nithin, there was a lot of talk about how this year, at least till the first 6 months, the theatre halls were empty. A lot of films didn't work. Some of the films kind of were appreciated on OTT but didn't work theatrically. So now that you see that weekends have been full, you're seeing houseful boards everywhere for Hostel Hudugaru Bekagiddare. I want you to tell me what does it tell about the audience behavior? As a director, how do you pull the crowd to the theatres?
So see, this clearly says that audience have updated, as
Right.
in they've got a better exposure than before, because after OTT is coming in, everybody is a member of some OTT platform, and they watch a lot of diverse content, and now they're ready to watch any experimental film.
Right.
This actually says that. I mean, you can risk a bit, and audience will appreciate it.
Right. We have spoken a lot about Hostel Hudaguru, the boys in this interview, and it would be unfair not to show them in this interview. So this is a very small group of a very big bunch. So congratulations, boys, on a big success.
Thank you.
Right. So of course, hilarious lines, chaotic drama. I loved a lot. One thing that struck me was these senior salute step that you would do. Can you teach me that step?
Go, definitely. Shall we start? Once, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Superb. I mean, wish you all the best and congratulations once again on the success.
Thank you so much.